And we're live. Welcome to the Red Dawn chat. This is going to be Angry and Duke and I, although Duke is not here right now. He's detained, postponed somewhere with finals or some such shit. I don't really know.
And he's indisposed.
Yes. How are you tonight, Angry?
Kicking,
Okay.
which is a good thing. I mean, I suppose so.
Well, I wanted to first talk a little bit about why we're doing this, and I think it's gonna be fun for the three of us to kind of break off and do our own thing separate from the other stuff because we'll do have different conversations. And I want to talk about prepping and guns to some extent, and movies to some extent, and whatever we want to some extent. Kind of, it's about like movies, the end of the world, and preparedness. And so the Red Dawn chat. It's like the perfect thing to call it, I think.
I'm
And
down.
I kind of figured this first episode would be, you know, where to start. Like, if you've never gotten into anything prepping wise, like, where would you start? I have some thoughts about that, but I'll let you go first if you want.
Yeah, so I mean, my mentality on where to start prepping, especially with people that have no idea what it is, no idea how to start into it. Um, it's just start small. Like start enhancing the stuff you already have. Like you don't have to go out and go big and go buy 100 pounds of rice at a time. It's like just when you go to the grocery store, buy a little extra. Like spend a couple extra bucks, buy some extra stuff. And this is again like supposing that this person is in a similar mindset with the stuff that we have, right? So let's say they're a person that has a firearm, has water, has food, like whatever. Like just enhance what you already have a little bit at a time until you can build up and you're comfortable spending more and more and getting larger stockpiles, right?
Yeah.
Um, but obviously, some people are going to be in a different boat where they have, you know, 1 day's worth of food in their house or maybe 3 days worth of food. They don't have any sort of defensive tool. They don't have anything. It's like, okay, well, then in those cases, I would prioritize food and water first because those are the things that you're most likely going to need over anything else. Like, I know we all talk about like guns and bets and sword, like all that cool shit.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, that stuff is important, but in the majority of like areas where prepping is going to come in handy is like a blizzard, a power outage, shit like that. It's not going to be in
Well,
these apocalyptic end of the world situations. So
I think I have a slightly different view, maybe because like my thing is half the reason I'm calling it the Red Dawn chat is I kind of figure if you're preparing for the Russians invading or whatever, you're kind of ready for anything. And like to me, that means like a handgun is like the first thing you should get. Because like if you don't have a 9mm handgun or something that does that job, like someone can just take everything else you got.
they can, but I'm again like we're starting from people from ground up.
Yeah,
My mentality is like ground up people that know nothing. Like if I'm talking to my mother is a perfect example. My mother's the type of
that's true.
person that will go to the grocery store every single day because now granted, thank God my dad's around more now. To kind of like walk her through of like, hey, let's buy more food than
Yeah,
1 day's worth. But my mom, when my dad's like in the hospital or something like that, she's the type of person that's like, oh, I gotta go to the grocery store again tonight because I only buy 1 day's worth of food at a time.
she likes going
Um,
shopping.
I don't know what it is. But like so in situations like that, like amplify what you already have. Like have some extra batteries around. Now, granted, again, I would put up there in top 5 things like have a defensive firearm of some sort.
Well, this
And
is
to me,
kind of
like
what
we've
I'm
had these,
saying
this,
is like top five. This
yeah,
is what I'm asking. Is like, what are the first five things I guess we would do?
yeah. So water, food. Um, that would probably say defensive tool. Whether that be
A bat.
a hang like something. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, it's going to depend by your jurisdiction. Like I think
Well,
the
or
majority of
money.
people out there like a handgun in the money. I mean, the majority of people out there are probably going to go handgun, but maybe you only have a couple $100 to get a single shot shotgun or something. Like that's going to be better than nothing, right?
Well, honestly, if all you can swing is a single shot shotgun and like a baseball bat, that's significantly better than nothing.
Yeah,
That's one shot at range and then a club, like, and
yeah,
maybe you can reload the gun so you get a couple shots, but
yeah. I mean, it's not ideal, but
no.
it's better than exactly sitting there with nothing.
Because my
Um,
thought is like, first and foremost, like I said, a 9mm handgun because it protects everything else.
yeah.
And then I was
Now,
thinking like a bug out bag because you need a little bit of everything, right?
yeah,
And like if you want to take care of the mobile stuff first, I'm not saying go and dump $5,000 into a bug out bag, but I'm saying like have a backpack with like a knife and 3 days worth of food and etc. Like you fill in the blanks. You can go watch a billion
mm,
videos on bug out bags and determine what that means to you.
yeah. It's going to be dependent upon your environment and everything like that as well. What you're going to pack in there. Yeah, that was going to be my number 4.
Yeah.
Was have that bug out bag. And again, like you don't need to go balls to the wall off the beginning, like just a good solid backpack. And you can grab some of that extra food and water you have, throw it in there, and then add other shit in there, like fire source, whatever, batteries, a flashlight. Like those are things I think when I think of prepping, and maybe I'm kind of coming from a different mindset, but I know plenty of people that they have an apartment and I'll go over to do something like, oh, give me a flashlight. And they look at you like you have 10 heads. It's like, you own a flashlight, right? Like
Yeah.
at least one. And they're like, no, why would I need a flashlight? I'm like,
I think I've got like
really?
3 or 4 in here right now, and
I,
that's the least I've ever owned in my life.
yeah, I don't even know how many I have. Like I have one in probably every single room in my house, at least,
Yeah.
or my
Yeah, and like
apartment.
that's not even counting like
Like,
the one on my phone and the one on the solar generator.
yeah. And like a basic toolkit. Cause I mean, you don't think of
Yeah.
it when it comes to prepping, but like that is something that comes in handy in a prepping situation. Like it doesn't have to be a crazy toolkit. Like you can buy a simple ass toolkit, like a hammer and a screwdriver are going to get you a lot of stuff done. Like if you need to do a repair in your house, like
Allen
say there's a
wrenches.
storm that comes, yeah, say a storm comes through, right? And you have to do repairs to your home.
Yeah.
Now it's not going to obviously do everything, but it's going to do some stuff. Or something breaks and you have to repair it. Or let's say you do have to hit the road. Well, a hammer and a screwdriver can get you into a lot of places. Your vehicle breaks down.
Are you talking
I know.
about to put in the bug out bag?
I mean, it's good to have tools to put in the bug out bag,
Yeah.
and again, that's going to
Well, like
dictate
you
on
could get
to what.
you could get
Yeah,
like a bit driver and a hammer and a crowbar. That's a few other things. There's some handy tools for sure.
well, even like a multi tool,
Yeah, I have a
like a
multi
multi.
tool right now that I'm looking at buying.
Yeah, every single one of my bags has a multi tool in it, at least a multi tool in it.
Honestly, the like Leatherman style, like a Super Tool 300 or something along those lines, is an underrated thing for as much as you can get done with one of those. Like if you only had, one tool, that's I don't know if it's the choice, but it's a choice. That's
I
I'm
like
a good one.
I like what Tex put in the side toilet paper. Like I know
Yeah,
we all joke about from what happened in 2020, but like TP for
and
your bunghole. Like
definitely in the bug out bag, you should probably have at least like a 4 pack of toilet paper, I would think.
yeah, I have these in my one bug out bag. I have it's like camping toilet. It's weird, but they
Yeah,
come in like little tablets. But then like you add water and they like form into
I,
this huge ass thing.
I have. So those like stuff sacks that are waterproof for backpacking that are nylon.
Yeah,
I have a medium sized one of those that I've taken like 6 rolls of toilet paper and crushed the tubes and stuffed them all in there and then pushed all the air out of that, and then it's in the bag.
no,
And I don't know if that's the best thing to do, but it's size efficient and you get real toilet paper, and that's worth a lot.
yeah. It's not just from a utilitarian aspect, but that's gonna be a huge morale boost if you have toilet
Yeah,
paper in whatever
there are options.
literally shitty situation you're in.
There are options without toilet paper, but none of them
There
are
are, but
particularly bright.
well, I like to put 3 seashells in
Yeah,
my bug out
exactly.
bag.
Well, that's why I have $3 silver. Like I
Yeah,
figure it's like the same thing. You have
pretty
one.
much.
I don't want to think about how the three sheesh cells must work. I can't even say that.
I read something online about how they work, and I was mortified. So,
Yes, like there's only a
um,
couple of answers, folks, and none of them are good.
no, none of them are good. But yeah, so that's what I would say getting into prepping if you're a beginner, like your food, water, because if you don't have that, you're gonna die.
Well, like
Um,
food and water wise, I'm thinking if you're starting out, the first two things I would do is go buy like a bunch of cases of bottled water, whatever that means to you. If that's
hmm,
three or if that's 12, whatever, a bunch of bottled water. And then I would get like a 50-pound bag of rice because it's cheap. And like, yeah, you can do other
yeah,
stuff or whatever and buy the small
but
bags. I would encourage you to do that too. But like for 30 bucks at Costco, you can go get 50 pounds of rice and that would feed you for a couple of months probably.
well, yeah, and like you don't have to go balls to the wall. Like I mean, honestly, for 50 bucks, like if you're just starting out, you have no idea how to jump into prepping. You take 50 bucks, you dump that into food and water, like you're good for a while. Like
Yeah.
just like you said, like 30 bucks worth of rice or pasta or whatever, like right there. And then you take the other 20, you dump it into cases of water or 1 gallon.
Yeah.
Like I got the 1 gallon jugs that cost $1 at the dollar, well, $1.25 now at the dollar store.
Yeah. No shit.
Like, all right, I got like several gallons of water in my house, and the water is also going to come in handy because like I've been in situations where water has gone out at my house, like pipes have burst down the road,
If
and I have
you
no water
are,
at my house, and now it's like, oh, now I want to flush the toilet. Well, good thing I have these gallons of water around I can dump in,
yeah.
or like do dishes, or like whatever you got to do. And it
Well,
doesn't have to be like that end of the world situation, but still a situation that's like, fuck, I'm glad that I prepped this shit because other people aren't and they're in a rough situation. So,
the thing you
yeah,
might want to get to, if you're getting like 50 bucks worth of rice and water at the start, like you might buy a, you know, gallon jug of soy sauce. I think those are like 14 bucks, 15 bucks.
yeah, they're not bad.
And like
Or,
you need something to flavor the rice with. I would encourage.
or what I found to be really useful, the bouillon cubes.
Yeah, you could do that too.
You get a big jug of the bouillon cubes, like those will last you a while,
Spend just a
especially with a
little
lot of
bit
rice.
more and get something to flavor the rice with. You'll think
Yeah,
whatever.
because plain rice
Yeah,
sucks.
it sucks
Um,
pretty
I mean,
hardcore.
you can eat it, and obviously in a shitty situation you'll do that, but like again, morale boost, right?
Yeah, if you could go spend 3 bucks on a bottle of soy sauce and like 4 bucks on a bottle of hot sauce, you'll thank us later.
You'll be fine. Um, so yeah, so that again, you know, defensive item of some sort to keep your shit yours.
Well,
Um,
if you're on a budget, where would you start with that? I have my thoughts
so
again.
depends on the budget, right? Because like if so, like let's say you throw out 200 bucks. So at 200 bucks, I can go get myself
Pump shotgun?
a used shotgun. I could even probably get myself. It'd be tight, but I might be able to get myself a decent enough semi-auto handgun. It's not going to be any like combat style handgun, but and I'm not talking like a Sky or something, but like I
A
might be able
Harpoon?
to get like a used Bursa
Yeah.
or maybe a Taurus. That's a stretch. Um,
You can get the little Taurus like single stack polymer pistols for like
that,
179.99 now. I think that's
that's
the way
that's
I would go.
yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like something like that. Trying to think of what else would be in that price range. Like maybe some of your cheaper, smaller, reputable 380s are like right around that $200 mark. But you're probably probably like cheap Taurus, maybe a Bursa, um, you know,
I think I would go with
cheap shotgun.
either the cheap shotgun or that polymer frame single stack Taurus that's under 200
Yeah,
bucks now. I forget what that is. Like it used to be like the 709 Slim or something like that or 609
yeah, I
Slim.
forget what they call them now, and they
Uh,
might still be the 709 Slims. I have no
yeah,
idea,
the cheap
but
cheap Taurus pistol.
yeah,
That's the only one.
but I mean, those are options for you. And if you're going even on more of a budget, then you're kind of screwed. Depending, I mean,
Well,
you can pick up
I
stuff for less than that, but it's
it's
tight.
not
Like
going to
you
be
really have
a
to hunt
gun.
for the deal. Like there's no place where it's like, oh, I can just go buy this item because this is what MSRP is for, and this is where we're at. It's like you're gonna just have to find a deal.
At what point would you be like, okay, we do not have enough money for a gun. We should buy something else. And what would you buy?
Probably at. Ooh, that's a tough one. If that was the case, I'd probably say like less than $100. Like if you're even at like $100, it'd be tight.
You
But
might be
so
able to find a handgun for $100 at a pawn shop, though.
yeah, but it's like
That's
it'd
really
be a
hard these days.
it'd be tough. And like, what are you gonna find? You're gonna find like some like old like
My thought on
J.C.
this
Higgins
was
or like a ROM or something that I mean, it might work. It's worth a shot,
my thought
but
on this was if you have less money than it takes to buy a gun, like that Cold Steel Gladius machete is $27
so
on Amazon, and
so
that's
yeah, so good.
that's pretty good. I mean, for 27
Yeah.
bucks.
So like I mean that and a can of like mace, I mean you're
Oh, for sure. And like I don't know what else I would recommend other than those two things. Like you said, the can of mace, that's a great idea. But
yeah, like I mean and it's been so long since I've looked at that shit, but like if you can find like a good can of bear spray and like a decent enough blade,
yeah,
that'd probably be the way I'd go. I wouldn't necessarily go baseball bat just because like don't get me wrong, baseball bats are cool and they are utilitarian. They will fuck somebody
they
up.
take strength to use.
They take strength to use, and especially if like you have to fight in like a close quarter, like a hallway or something, like you have to have leverage. Like if you're up
Yes,
close, like yeah, you can whack someone with it, but like it's gonna piss them off. But that's about all it's gonna do. It's not
that
an end the fight type. Like you have to have room to move it.
that fucking Gladius, you don't need any room at all. Like that's a close quarters inside a
Yeah.
house kind of like masterpiece thing. And it's like I said, it's under 30 bucks.
Yeah. Trying to think of what else would be.
I like your like War Club and shit that you got in like that fucking Boba Fett Tusken Raider thing you made.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, they're cool, but I mean, yeah,
Like you're gonna
technically,
have style in the
granted, I
end of
mean,
the war.
it's only cost me. I think this was like, I say it was like $40. And granted, yeah, if you're up close, like you can definitely like get somebody with this. But I mean, even this is something that if you really want range, you gotta get a good swing in. And the Tuscan Raider thing, you definitely gotta get a good swing in.
The
But
gaffy stick is just
the
great though.
gaffy stick, yeah. But yeah, no, I'd probably go something bladed. Just again, like that's a worst case scenario. Like I mean, for $100, like you should be able to get something. Um, and especially if you can go around that $200 range. And for $300, you can get stuff all day long. Even with the crazy prices that are now, like you can still get stuff for $300. $200 a little bit tighter, but you could do it.
I
And then
passed
yeah,
on a
you're
Bursa
safer.
the other day for 250. So there are deals out there for under 350.
Yeah, yeah. You just have to know where to go, how to hunt for them, stuff like that. So yeah, so that's that. And then fourth, we said a bag. I mean,
I think a good
again,
backpack is one of those things like you should invest some money in.
it is, but I mean, especially like starting off, like I mean, I'm not gonna say like, oh, the dollar store. I don't even know if dollar store sells backpacks, but like, get something decent, but it doesn't have to be like a crazy like
Well, like if I was
expensive.
going to say of anything that we're talking about where I would spend the most money would be on a backpack and shoes. Like I would get a good pair of hiking boots and a really good backpack.
Yeah, and a good spot to go for those places because a lot of people are probably gonna think of like, oh, I'm gonna go to Target or Walmart or whatever, and like, yeah, you can get stuff there. Like that's
Right.
fine, whatever. It's not gonna be the best, but it's not gonna be the worst. A great place to go, and we've said on Matt's chat, is If you can find an Army surplus store, like get yourself an old Alice pack. Like that.
Honestly, fuck yeah. I rocked an Alice pack the entire
Yeah,
time I was growing up, and it can haul anything anywhere.
yeah.
And you
You
can
can put like
strap shit
a
to it.
child
It's
in
great.
that. Yeah,
Yeah, like especially you get the big Alice pack. Like you said, you could fit a human being in there. Like they come in
yeah,
sizes. I always carried like a medium or something like that, and like that's
mhm.
more of like I don't know a baby more than a human being.
Yeah. So like, Yeah, so I would say definitely, look at those places for stuff. And I didn't even think about this. Well, nah, if you're throwing bottles of water and stuff in, you're fine. Never mind. Scratch that idea.
Well, like, were you gonna say a water filter or something?
I was gonna say a way to purify water. Um,
I found a filter that I like, the zero water filter, and the filter and the first filter and like the countertop unit and shit is $30 on Amazon. And I think just as an initial thing, get that for $30. Like it was performing about as well as the Berkey on the
mm,
tests that I watched, and it was way fucking cheaper.
yeah.
And that's a
I
countertop
mean,
thing, but like, are you going to be out in the woods? Because that's a little bit of a different water filter.
yeah, yeah.
Like, I don't know. It depends on exactly how much of a shit hits the fan things are going to go into, right?
Situation you run into exactly. I mean, at any point, and I don't care how fucking prepared you are. At some point, if you live long enough, you're gonna have to restock on stuff, right? So it's just
Yeah.
how long is your stuff gonna last you for before you got to go find upgrade or replace. Um,
That and like, I'm not looking at hauling all of this in a backpack. Like, obviously, if you're building a bug out bag, you should have a filter that is appropriate for a bug out bag, and that would be like a Catadine hiker, probably, or maybe like a Life Straw or something.
yep.
There's a bunch of different stuff you could get for that.
And there's also other ways to purify. I mean,
Yeah.
filters are probably the most convenient way to do so, but
Iodine
there's
tablets is the quickest.
it's the quickest, but not
It's like,
everyone knows how. Yeah, exactly. Like a filter's pretty idiot proof for the most part. Um,
well, do you want to have nice, tasty water, or do you want to have water that will not kill you? That's like with
yeah.
iodine, it makes water that will not kill you. That's all you can say about it.
But if it's nuclear fallout and you have
Yeah,
your iodine water, it's
that's
like
true.
two birds, one stone. So,
Yeah, there you go.
like,
That's another consideration. Really, I wonder if that is the same iodine. 'Cause
I have no idea.
I don't think it is, but it might
I don't
be.
think it is, but I'm gonna run with it. Um, but so that's what do we hit? So we hit food, water, fire, or well, defensive tool bag, and then last but not least, I would say, ooh,
I have one. I was going to say transportation, and whether that means a car or a bike or some sort of scooter or whatever that means to you, but I would get transportation that you can afford to use, whether there's fuel or no fuel or whatever. Like,
it's up there for me, but and here's where my conflict comes in on that aspect is if it's the end of the world, right, and you need to bug out, like
yeah,
there's going to be transportation around. Maybe it's coming from me who knows how to acquire some of that transportation a little bit more easily.
that's probably the
Um,
difference because I don't know how to hotwire a car. I'm not a car thief.
yeah, well, I'm not a car thief either, and like if it's a modern car, like
Well, you
good
have your
luck.
haircut like Vin Diesel now almost, so like
Yeah,
I just
well,
assume.
well, like if it's a modern, like good luck, right?
Yeah,
Because with all the computers and shit like that, but still, at the end of the day, like I'm sure there's going to be people around that are and kind of morbid, but like might not be moving around too much. Some of those people are going to have keys with them.
that's
You know,
very
so those
true.
cars, if you go beep beep, you're gonna
Again,
go,
it
huh?
depends how bad of a situation are we talking. Is this a nuclear war or is this
True,
just,
true.
there's a Great Depression and shit's hard all over and like, there's no
You just
food
need to get
anywhere.
out. Yeah, you just need to get,
Yeah.
to wherever to get. Exactly. So it's going to depend on the situation, but yeah, I mean, transportation's definitely up there. Um, and I should say reliable transportation. And I'm a sucker myself. Like shit breaks on my car unless it's devastating. I'm like, whatever, I'll get to it. Half
Yeah.
the time. So I'm
Well,
I'm
I've
not
been missing
necessarily
a
the
fucking
greatest.
catalytic converter for what, 2 or 3 months now?
Yeah, I've
I'm right
needed
on top of
engine.
that.
I've needed motor mounts on my car for since I moved here because the trailer beat the ever living snot out of it. Um, I mean they were already going, and the trailer just hauling it out here beat the shit out of it. So
Yeah.
I need to get those replaced, but it's one of those things where it's like, the car's still running. So, but they're gonna actually get replaced soon because they're starting to piss me off.
Back to
But
weapons for a minute. If you're buying a gun, be sure you budget in enough to get at least a box of ammo,
yes,
preferably
yep,
more.
yeah, preferably more, but at least a box of ammo. Um, which, again, if you're hitting that $200 budget, might be tough depending on what it is. But that's something to take into consideration. And I hate to
Shotguns
say
help
it.
with that.
Here's something I didn't think of when we were discussing this, and it would not be my first choice, but still better than, you know, your dick in your hands. Is 22s are still cheap, and
Yeah,
like, well, granted, a 22 is not my go-to defensive firearm at all. I
I
mean,
had I had that little takedown 22, and when I set it up as a defensive gun with a dual mag on it and shit because my thought was, what if the 22 is all I have ammo for?
yeah,
And
I
like
mean,
it will to get the job done. Like 10 rounds of 22 to the face will just
well,
annihilate somebody.
yeah, and like that's what I think of is like my Marlin Model 60, right? Like I think I bought that for like, I want to say I spent like $115 or something on it, and like
Yes.
22's dirt cheap ammo, anyways. And that thing holds 10+1. Like if I had to, again, not ideal, but if like one dude broke through my front door and I put 10 rounds of 22 in his face, like he's probably gonna have a bad day.
Yeah.
Um, Again, it's not ideal, but it is an option. Um, but yeah,
On the
so
food thing too, we never really finished out that topic, but like once you have some rice, like I think it's a good thing just to have some canned goods and rotate through them. Like maybe not eat them all the time or whatever, but like
yeah, you can take a long time to rotate through a lot of those canned goods too, because even like stuff that goes bad, like I think I've said on Matt's chat, I have chili in my cupboard that fuck, I think I bought like 4 years ago or something, and it
yeah.
expired 2 years ago. And like I've eaten that recently. Like when I moved here, I ate it, and I was like, oh yeah, this tastes fine. Like as long as that can is not bulging or punctured or anything like that. Like, and again, it depends
I
on the product, but like you're probably pretty safe. Like do a sniff test. Like do a test.
I
Like
really
look
trust
at it
my
before you
nose.
eat it. But
I really trust my nose and eyes when it comes to that shit. And like you said, make sure the can is cool and not damaged in any way. And then like if it smells good and it looks good, it probably is
probably
good.
good. Yeah, it's probably fine. I mean, the fact that there's like canned goods that they've opened from like the '60s that is
Yeah.
still fine. It's like probably be okay.
Now, like the thing
You
I will
can't
say,
keep.
the reason I like factory cans over home canned stuff is like botulism. Like home canned meats and shit make me kind of scared. Maybe that's just me, but I think your
It depends.
propensity to have that shit go bad is more.
It depends how it's prepared. So like me, because I just got into canning this last year with stuff, and I'm running low on some of my stuff right now. But so like when it comes to canning meats and stuff like that, from what I've read at least, because I just do a traditional canning setup with like boiling water and such, that limits the types of items that you can can. If you want to can like meats and things like that, from what I've read, you have to use a pressure canner, which I've debated on buying. I just don't know where the hell I'd put it right now. I gotta make space for it.
It would be
Um,
cool to do that kind of stuff.
it's neat. Like I'm trying to like my one friend, her parents want to get into canning, and they have their own house, and like they have a downstairs that's like they her dad kind of he tries to prep when his wife lets him, but like they want to get into canning. And I was like, they're like, we don't know how to do that though, and she's like, oh, Dan knows how to. I'm like, yeah, I'll come over and help them. So like I'm trying to get them convinced to buy a pressure canner so I can fuck around with it and be like, hey, let's like you guys spend money on food and I'll just can a bunch of it, and then like because I drove up here, like, you know, just kind of hook me up. Because it's a hike to get up to their place. It's like 2 hours each way. It's right now like $20 in tolls. It sucks, but we'll see.
I missed most of what you just said because of the internet sucking. So
Oh, okay. Oh,
at least the audience got to hear that.
yeah. Yay.
I heard something about tools.
Yeah, toll roads here. It's something that I'm still trying to get around and figure out. Forgot that those are a
Yeah.
thing out in Pennsylvania.
Uh,
So, but yeah. So I think we've hit everything. I know your
I don't know what else
number
I
5
would
was
suggest.
transportation. My 5 was probably lighting, and with light I'd probably wrap in fire, just because it's
See, I kind of figure all that's in the bug out bag.
yeah
Like at least to some level, not like 100%, but like if this is really your first steps into this, get the mobile set up
true.
first. And then like I
Yeah.
don't know, I would consider like electric lighting and stuff and candles and whatever to be second step maybe. Lighters.
Well, I meant lighting like a flashlight.
Oh yeah,
Like,
the like that's probably in the bug out bag too though.
yeah, get yourself a goddamn flashlight. For those of you
Like
that
maybe
don't
that's
have,
what we
like, you can
should
get one
really
cheap at Walmart for like $7, and it's 1,000 lumens. It's this son of a
I
bitch
think
right here.
I think we should spend the rest of this time pretty much just going through what we would throw in the bug out bag because like if you have a bug out bag as item number 1 or 2 on your list, like all the random cheap stuff that you can go get at Walmart or the dollar store that would be
Yeah.
good to have in the bug out bag. Like you can build one super cheap or you can build one super expensive.
So
Like
So I've had multiple iterations of bug out bags over the years. I have multiple bug out bags now, right? Like for kind of different situations. Like I'm
yeah,
kind of one primary go-to, but then I have other ones that are like, oh, I feel I need to go up to here for bugging out, and like they're kind of catered different ways. Um, but like in my first bug out bag I put together, obviously did some food, did some water. I had a way in there to cook food slash boil water. Um, I had fire sources in there, a couple different fire sources. I had some minor medical. It was more like a boo boo and like scratches and scrapes kit. But there was a tourniquet in there as well, and some gauze and like some like some medicine for like you know headaches and like stomach pains and stuff like that. Like there's some of that stuff in there, but that was all in a very small kit. Um, I had in there, I had a bandana because a bandana can be used for multiple purposes. You can use it as a
I really
makeshift
like the
sling.
shamog because it's like a bandana but bigger and
So,
you can use it
so
for a lot more things.
now I have a shamog.
Yeah.
But at the time I only had a bandana. A map.
Yeah, a map of the
Yeah.
US and then a detailed map of your general area, wherever that is. Like I would get
Yep.
both of those things as fast as humanly possible.
Yep. A map. Obviously had flashlight. What else was in there? I had ponchos. I had ponchos for rain, and I had those like
And
space
shelter too.
blanket. Yeah.
You can do a lot with a poncho.
So yeah, so I had ponchos in there. I had a couple space blankets, and a couple trash bags because you can find a lot of uses for trash bags. Like and they're like heavy duty trash bags. They don't take up a lot
Yeah.
of space. If you need to use them for some sort of shelter, you can do a lot with them. They come in handy. So that was pretty much it in my initial bug out bag, I think. In food wise, I think I had like 3 days worth of food. Like it was not a lot of food. Might have
See,
been
for
5 days.
me, around here, like I have a good backpack with like some general wilderness survival stuff shoved at the very bottom of the bag, like a canteen cup, and little survival kit kind of stuff. And then on top of that, like maybe a couple of tarps because like I'm not really worried that much about cold here, except in the dead of winter. And then like we'd be making other plans probably. So like maybe like I said, a couple of tarps and a poncho is a good thing, like you said. And other than that, like I would just load it full of food and water and maybe some ammunition and whatever else that you feel the need to carry. But Angry hit most of the stuff that I would put into a bug out bag. Like you want to hit a lot of these bases, like flashlights and light tools and Like I would definitely go get a bit driver and like a hammer, and I would at least have those, like a claw hammer or a what's that thing? A crowbar. One or the other or both would be handy because like a claw hammer can't do everything a crowbar can, but it can do some of those things, and it's a hammer that you can break shit with. But you can do the same thing with a crowbar. So maybe it depends on what you have access to. But there's not that much that you really need for bugging out, and I would try to keep it lightweight and hit as many of
Yeah,
those bases as possible.
try to keep as lightweight as possible because especially if you have to be hiking it around, like weight adds up quick. I don't want to turn it into a nothing fancy post, but
Yeah.
yeah,
The other thing is, like, I would get the toilet paper to keep in the bug out bag. And when I did that, I would buy probably enough toilet paper for a year because toilet paper is pretty cheap. I think we already
yeah,
mentioned that earlier, but that's definitely something that you should just get. Like, we've already seen that's the first thing people panic by for whatever reason, which is hilarious. But
yeah. So I forgot to mention that in my bug out bag, there's like a roll of toilet paper. There was something else too that was a compass, but that's just because I had like it wasn't an expensive compass. It was a cheap ass compass, so it probably wasn't going
honestly,
to
a
be that great
compass
anyway. But
protractor with the maps would be a good idea.
yeah, that's why I figured with the maps, like that's why I
Yeah.
had it. So that way to boil my water,
I was about to say
fire
a mess kit,
starting.
which would be same.
That's what it was. It was like a cheap like mess kit that kind of all came.
I
Yeah, it was in the same.
I like the
Oh,
MSR Alpine cook pots. They're like 15, $20. They come in varying sizes, and if you get the one that's like $20, it's a big enough pot to do most things in the woods or whatever that you would need to do. It's not enough for like day-to-day life probably, but like emergency get you by kind of thing.
I
That's what I
I
have.
also had a roll. I also had a roll of 550 cord, which I don't remember. It wasn't a big roll, but it was a roll of 550 cord,
You can roll
and
a
I had a
duct tape.
small little like. I think I had duct tape. I may have had duct tape. I don't remember in that bag, in my initial bag. But I did have like a small little hatchet as well. Just because like, even though I always have a knife on me, like just
Well,
have
see,
something
like
that's a little bit heavier duty for cutting.
this is like tool philosophy here, right? Like, so if we're really building a lightweight kit, and we already said we're going to have a multi tool because a multi tool is important. Like, I think the only other thing I would throw in the bag might be a hatchet. Like, you already have a
Hmm.
pocket knife. Like, maybe a fixed blade and hatchet. But like, if you're really trying to keep it cheap and trim, like I
Yeah.
found a Husqvarna carpenter's axe for $70 last night on Amazon, and that's what I'm going to be buying. It looks fucking great. Like if you had that and a multi tool, I think that's most of what you would need covered, and that's a weapon too.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
That's
not
for sure.
a good weapon.
It's better than nothing. Better than nothing. So.
Like I'm trying to think of what else you'd really want tool wise, but
So.
if you're
So
carrying
like
an
in.
axe, would you bother a hammer? It's like you don't need one then. So maybe the
No,
axe
you
and a
don't.
crowbar.
Yeah, you don't really need one. So like in my current bag, in my main bag, I should say, I have a folding saw, just because it's handier than
I like the
just the
Baco
hatchet.
Laplander.
I don't even know what brand it is. I'd have to go dig it out. Well,
Well,
I'd
they're
have to
like
go
the
dig out the
Baco
bag.
Laplander's like 30, $35, and it is a killer saw that is bomb proof. It's highly
My,
recommended.
mine's been awesome because I've used it like the entire time I was out in Arizona. Um, I had a tree in my backyard that groundskeeping never took care of because we had like walled in backyards or whatever. And
Yeah.
so this fucker would grow up every single year and like start leaning over the wall into the neighbor's yard or like lean up against the house or whatever. So I was just like, fuck it. I just would take that little folding saw and like go out there and hack it up, and like that thing, I mean, for 5 years just hacking up that tree, like never had an issue. Um, so I have that. I have a small hatchet. Still, I have a knife, like a fixed blade knife. Um, I have in both my my get home bag and my bug out bag. I have a small, like heavy duty pry bar. Um, that's really it tool
I think
wise, like actual tools.
the
Well,
pry bar is really
obviously a multi tool, but
the pry bar is really underestimated tool. Like there's a bunch of things you could carry, like a fire axe or bolt cutters or whatever. But like if you have an axe and that pry bar, there's not much that I could keep you out of. Like it
yeah.
might take you longer to get through a padlock without bolt cutters, but like if you have a fire axe, the padlock's not going to last very long anyway.
So so my get home bag has uh bolt cutters in it. Um, which obviously,
What
like
kind would you get?
honestly, if I'm I don't even know. I think they're Craftsman, maybe. I got them at like a swap meet. Like I was just walking around the swap meet, and some
Yeah.
guy had them there with like a bunch of tools because you can buy tools there cheap as
Are
shit.
they like the full
And some guy
size,
was
like
like,
3 foot?
"Yeah, I'll go. Hold up." So, because those ones are actually close. Like I don't have to go dig through my bedroom closet to get to them. There's in my hallway closet here. I thought they were. They had been. Didn't I put them in here? Oh no, I moved my get home bag. That's right. That's right. I thought I brought my get home bag in from the last time I went up north, but I put it back in there. Never mind. Scratch that idea. I think they're Craftsman, but they're like a full size set of bolt cutters. Um, but yeah, so I mean those will get through pretty much like those will get through chain link fence. They'll get through blocks. They'll get through anything. And I think I spent like $3 or $5 on it. Was it? Like I was just walking around. The guy's like, and we lost Ray Ray. So you guys get to hear me mumble until the chat dies. Yay. But guess I'll take people's chats here on the side because I haven't really been paying attention. Oh, well, there's Ray Ray
Okay.
back.
I guess the internet died or some shit.
Yeah. I was just saying, like, I got like full size. I thought my bug out bag was still in my closet, but I forgot when I got home Sunday night. I got ambitious and put it back in the car, even though the only place I've gone all week is to the gym, which is like 13 miles up the road. So it's not like I really need them. But
Yeah.
um,
Well, what I was saying is I kind of like I want something that does that that's compact and like I guess you could get like a battery powered Dremel tool or something like that to cut through shit, but it would be cool to get like a pair of bolt cutters that was like a foot and a half long that you could cut a master locker better with. I don't know if
that's
that
yeah.
exists.
Mine are like a good. Mine are probably about a foot and a half long. Like mine are probably. I know it's about that
Well,
long or so.
maybe I'm thinking more like 8 inches to a foot, like
Oh
a
yeah.
compact set of cutters.
Oh,
I
gotcha,
don't know
gotcha.
if those
Yeah,
exist.
yeah. Maybe I have no idea. I'm not a bolt cutting expert, but
Yeah.
um,
But like if you could get something like that to put into the bag, like that's where I would be looking. As
yeah,
short of a pair of bolt cutters as you can get, that will work.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, yeah, those are a handy tool
Breaching
to have.
shotgun.
Yeah,
That's a little bit more money though.
that's a little bit more money, and then there's you got to go through. I mean, depends on
You could
when
just
you
get like a
acquire said
pistol grip
breaching
Mossberg
shotgun.
500 with a breacher barrel, and that would, that's what
Yeah,
350. And like honestly, if you're looking for a
probably.
firearm, like if you did decide to go shotgun, maybe get the breaching shotgun and get a folding stock for it.
And I mean,
It would
you'd
be
be
a
fine with
way
that.
to go.
Yeah, I mean, there wouldn't be a lot of doors that could keep you out, and you'd have a defensive tool that, I mean, can do a lot of stuff. So I used to have a
I think
pistol
just
grip. What was it? Let's say it was like a Sears or like a Stevens or something like that. It was a cool little shotgun. It needed work. I ended up trading it for my Surefire because I think I bought it for, again,
I
like
don't know if I would
120 bucks.
I don't know if I would go with just a breaching shotgun as my only gun though.
No, no, it wouldn't be my only gun. But like, if you're on a budget and you're trying to do two birds, one stone type situation, I mean,
I would definitely carry like that cheap Taurus handgun we were talking about. and a breaching
Yeah.
shotgun. That's not a bad loadout, really.
No, I
Because
mean you
like you
can do
have
a lot of
something
stuff
that
with it.
shoots in your pocket, and like if you had the breaching shotgun with a folding stock, like you said, they're not keeping you out of anywhere now.
Yeah,
And
the folding stock
you
makes
get
the big
the
difference
buckshot
because
in.
if you're just running around with a pistol grip shotgun, I'm granted again it's better than nothing, but I'd rather have the 3 points of contact.
Well, like for breaching,
For
I
not for
want
breaching, but I'm saying from like a
the pistol
defensive.
grip folding stock.
Yeah,
But I know
I'm
this is the
saying
two birds, one stone thing. Is like as soon as we're really shooting buckshot, I want a stock.
yeah, yeah. Um, I mean, I guess you could go super
Did
crazy
you
and just
worry
like,
about a flashlight on the shotgun?
would I run a flashlight on the shotgun?
Yeah, or would you just run it slick?
I I probably would only because one, I like having lights on my guns when I can. So if I had the facility, like a shotgun's easy to attach a light to, and I
It is.
understand the concept of like it's being so close to where you're breaching and everything. I get that, but you can mount it a little bit further back. My mentality behind it is like, especially if I'm just running myself. Now, if I'm running with a group of people, that's different. Like I'm gonna breach and let them go in.
Yeah.
But if I'm just by myself, or like it's me and like my friend or something like that, or like me and a family member, and I don't really know what the hell their capabilities are. Like if it's me and my friend that lives right up the road, like she's not gonna be the first one through the door because love her to death, but she's not going to be the biggest threat first thing in the door. And also, I
Well,
don't know
this
how
extreme
quickly
budget
she's just going
kind
to
of
catch.
first step loadout is really like a, "Hey, these are some
Uh,
guns to get you some better guns," kinda thing, right? Like,
Yeah,
you're a scavenger with this loadout.
I I would want a flashlight though, just because like especially again like if I'm running by myself, as soon as I breach, like I don't know if there's going to be light on the other side of that door, so I want to have a light source so I can immediately see. Like I don't want to have to breach and then be like looking around. Like I want to just be able to breach and like look in as that door flies open and have a
Yeah,
light. So
and that's a really good argument, and it's not that hard to get a shotgun light mount, like, there's
yeah.
cheap ones.
Yeah. I
In
mean,
fact,
worst case scenario, hose clamp the fuck out of it.
well, I did the Magpul 4-end, and that's not a bad way to go. They're like 30, $40, and then you can just 1913 a, flashlight to that handguard.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what the hell clamp. I have a clamp on one on my
We're
Benelli.
building,
I
like,
don't know
the
what the hell it
weirdest
is.
set of fucking tools for the end of the world here because 'cause we've got a folding stock 12 gauge shotgun with a Magpul 4-end with flashlight, and then, like, a Taurus, like, 9 millimeter single stack pocket pistol. I don't know, but these are good choices, I think. Like, honestly, if you're on a budget and you're trying just to get some bases covered, especially on that shotgun, if you
Just
had a bird barrel for it too,
yeah, just swap out barrels and then there you go. You can
and
now
like
hunt and collect game easily. Well, more easily.
it's not the best thing, but again, it's one thing that does multiple things.
Yeah.
And if you're really like at this starting level, I would focus on these things first because at least that's something that does that job versus having nothing that does that job. Like, I think a rifle is pretty much indispensable too, but like, I don't know. I think that's almost for the next video
Yeah. I'd save it for the next chat. We can
because like
definitely
that's
dig into that.
second step would be you know all of the bug in stuff and like honestly, I don't think most of the people in the United States are going to be roaming the streets with a backpack full of stuff, a combat rifle, and enough ammunition to make a difference with it.
No. No, no, no. I like if stuff goes down, I imagine and again, it's going to depend on where you live and people's mindsets in that area. But like where I live, I imagine a lot of people are going to be trying to get out of the city and out of the surrounding. Like my plan here is, and again, it depends on the situation. But my plan is to stay here as long as I can. Now, granted, there's going to be factors that determine on whether or not I stay. But if I can, I'm going to stay here as long as I can. Let these other people go hit the roads and do whatever they got to do, and
Yeah. Just to reiterate this,
plus-
we're not saying, hey, bug out should be your first plan. We're
yeah,
saying
no,
if you don't have much money, you can use your bug out kit in your house.
yes, yeah. Like think of it as like an emergency stash kit.
Yes.
Like that's the best way to look at it. It's like that bug out bag is your emergency stash kit until you can build up the stuff in your house.
My thought is the first shit I would buy is all of the stuff that I'd be grabbing to throw in the car to run somewhere else. Yeah, why focus on anything else? Because you might lose it all.
Yeah.
And like it's not that hard to get that base covered of the stuff that you would grab and throw in like a passenger car or even a minivan. That's not that much stuff. That's aside from like a shit ton of food, maybe like you could fill a minivan with a lot more food than you could a normal car, I guess. But
Yeah.
you know what I mean, though. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's where my head is at on most of this. I'm going to bug in, but at some point, you're going to have to leave. And whenever you leave, that stuff that you're loading in the car, that's the stuff you should buy first.
Yep.
And well, we covered bug out bag, some food, some water, some transportation, some guns, and toilet paper. That's really like 6 things, but like I think all those are kind of important. The toilet paper is kind of a, if you can get toilet paper, you should buy toilet paper.
Yeah.
Uh,
Toilet paper is
aside
easy
from
to
that,
stock up onto. Like, I mean, it's yes, instead of like buying the 6-pack, buy the 12-pack or the 8-pack or whatever. And like, okay,
I
I
know
usually buy
I know
6-packs.
something
I'm just gonna
we
take these 2 extra rolls and
I know something we missed that we need to talk about. It's a free prep for most people, and it's that you should have however much cash that you can have on hand. That's how much you should have on hand for this. Like if you really are worried about having to use this stuff, at least have your bank account emptied out and in your wallet. If not, in an envelope in your bug out bag or something like that. And like maybe even if you have precious metals, that kind of stuff too. Like I won't know if I would empty your whole bank account or whatever, but at least
yeah.
like if you
I
can do a couple hundred bucks in cash is worth having.
I would say have some extra money or valuables or something stashed aside. I don't know if I'd keep in my bug out bag only because again it's going to dictate where you live in your environment. Because like
Yeah.
the last thing I want is like my valuables are hidden in a lockbox that's hidden in my apartment. If someone busts in the door, like they're gonna have a hard time finding those valuables where they're hidden. Whereas like
Well,
my bug out bag, they open my closet, they're like, here's a bag of shit. Like, haha.
again, when I think of a bug out bag, like it's a little bit of everything, right? So my bug out bag would probably have $200 or $300 in cash and probably like a few ounces of silver, probably in some sort of like dimes or quarters or something like that. Like something cheap that is real money, just in case, because like who knows what happens. And like I'm a little weird on precious metals, but my thing is in Venezuela, an ounce of silver would buy you a month's worth of food when they were going through their crisis. And I think that's going to be very true here too. I think that shit's always going to be worth something. And like you said, have a lockbox for like the rest of your stuff or whatever. But if you're really bugging out, you're going to grab that lockbox too.
Oh, 100%, yeah. Like
So
I can literally, as I'm running to grab my bug out bag, like grab that fucker, chuck it in there. Whoop, there we go.
yeah, and it depends. Are you going to keep those two things next to each other? Because then I would count them as the same item. Like
Yeah. I will say that they're not next to each other, but my apartment's small enough that it would take me an extra 30 seconds to get to it.
yeah,
So,
exactly. That's kind of the way my shit is. Like I have a backpack and I have a pile of survival equipment and I have a pile of precious metals. And like I could assemble all this shit rather quickly, but I don't like keep a bug out bag necessarily packed and anymore, at least because like bugging out's not my first plan.
yeah, oh no,
Like you
bugging
said.
out is not my first. Bugging out, in my opinion, should never be your first plan.
I agree.
it's a worst case scenario is that you have to leave your
But
domicile.
it's one of those things like if you're like, oh, I don't have much money. What should I buy before I go parachuting? A reserve parachute. It's
Or
probably
not. You
yeah,
do you.
yeah,
Maybe you buy yourself, I don't know, like a really really good life insurance.
yeah. But
But
like, there's all sorts of options in this, and like this used to just be my thing that I did for fun. But as this shit goes on, it looks more and more like my hobby of liking survival shit and guns is like probably going to come in handy at some point.
so raw feeding asks a unique question about god damn it, where'd it go? What about lead? Will it be more important in a true breakdown of society situation? I mean, lead will still be valuable, I'm
Lead
sure,
lead
but
is
it's
not
not
that
gonna.
valuable though, because like you can go and mine lead easily. The reason gold and silver are more valuable than lead is because they are harder to get. Like when
That's
you
the thing.
go
Like,
and
there's a
mine
lot
lead,
of shit you can melt down also for lead. So it's
yeah.
like,
Like the reason that the precious metals are precious is because they are legitimately rarer and harder to refine out and shit, and they're like just not as common. And like copper and lead are worth having and definitely good trade items for different things. And I would have some. I have a box of buckshot and I have a couple boxes of musket balls and shit like that. But like short of that, like I wouldn't invest too much in lead. Like
yeah,
I would rather buy 9 millimeter ammo if you're gonna buy lead.
yeah. I also saw something in here, back alley. A get home bag is more important, I feel, over a bug out bag. See, here's
They're the
my
same
mentality on
bag.
that. That's the same thing. Yeah. So like when I was starting out prepping, like my bug out bag was my get home bag. Like I didn't have two separate bags. Like that's essentially what it was starting off. Now I have two separate bags.
We
Um,
should define what a bug out bag is for a second. And to me, a bug out bag is a backpack full of stuff that you can run off into the woods and live off of for a while. Now, whether that's a few days or a few weeks would depend on your skills and how much shit you can carry.
yeah.
But like get home or bug out, it doesn't matter which, it's the same bag of stuff because you need the same stuff to do either job. You're wanting to
Yeah.
subsist.
Yeah, so yes, and like my get home bag is much more of a.
It might be trimmer. I would make
Yeah,
it
it's
trimmer.
it's it's more trim. Like so my get home bag I could probably live off of if I needed to stretch it maybe a week, maybe a little bit longer, like at
Yeah.
least from a water standpoint cuz you can live a while without food and stuff, right? Um
Basically,
so
these are the same bag with varied amounts of food and shit, and is my view,
yeah, so
and
well like
tools.
my get home bag has very limited shelter capabilities, like especially not extreme temperature shelters. Like I have stuff in there for winter time just because it's always in my car. So like winter time I'd be able to survive a little bit longer, but I don't have nearly as much fire starting stuff. I don't have nearly as much.
If you
Um
live in a cold climate, like, I think having a good coat, a good sleeping bag, and maybe a good axe and a fire starter in your car, probably a really good idea.
so I mean obviously I have my bug out bag, so I always have a
Yeah.
fire. And even when was in Arizona, like I started my get home bag when I lived here in Pennsylvania, moved to Arizona. Only thing I added to it was more water because fucking desert. Um and then I've kept that same rotation. But like even when I was in Arizona, I always had a good coat in my car. Um, I used to have a blanket in my car all the time. I have taken that out, so I am gonna have to put that back in before this next winter.
A good wool
Um,
blanket in the car is nice.
yeah, so I had a good solid wool blanket. Um, and then obviously fire starting stuff. I had a couple days worth of fire starting stuff,
See,
as well as like a lighter and everything.
I don't worry about fire starting stuff in my car kit usually because I have, like, a roadside emergency kit, and then there's, like, road flares and, like, a flare gun and
Well,
usually some matches, and between the 3 of those, I figure they'll handle any car related fire needs that I have.
well, yeah, but I'm saying like if I have to get home, like so
Yeah.
like around here, like if I'm just putzing around town, like yeah, like the most I'm ever going is maybe 20 miles up the road. So like even in a day, like if I was going up to my friend's house that's 20 miles up the road, like and shit popped off, like I could still get back here probably within a day. Like no big worry.
But my thing
Um,
is, my get home gear is like my EDC gear, I guess, which is like
yeah.
what's in my pockets and what's in my purse, and
So
that's
that's
not that much. And like I could walk home from most of the places I go.
yeah. So that's the thing. But like when my bag comes in handy is like when I go up to my parents or when I go up to my friends when she's up at her parents' house up
Yeah.
north. Like that's 2 hours away. That's a little bit more of a
Well,
hike.
that's where I would pack a get home bag, and
Yeah.
like we
So
said
that's
already, it's like a bug out bag but trimmer.
yeah. It's just a more trim bug out bag. Now my bug out bag, my primary bug out bag, that I could easily go out into the woods and live a month plus off of easy.
I like to pack my bug out bag assuming that like I'm just gonna go live like Robinson Crusoe for the rest of my life. So I'm a little
Yeah.
bit weird in what I pack, but it's all like stuff that endures basically. And like there's the things that are important are things that are made of metal and that endure. And there are different tools and widgets and stuff and pots and like that's all you're gonna have left after about I don't know 5 years or whatever out there. So focus on that shit more.
Yeah, and then on top of my bug out, it kind of plays into the get home bag. If I am going someplace like when I'm going very far north or even further away, like when I was back in Arizona or something like that, I have another bag that supplements that get home bag, which is more of my like
Food.
shit's no, no, it's more like shit's gone really south and I might need like extra ammo
Oh
or
yeah,
like
yeah.
extra medical gear, stuff like that. It's more of like a kit bag.
I'd
Um,
call that like either a resupply bag or a kit bag, yeah, because I got that
yeah,
too. And like you said, it has a bunch of medical shit, ammo, and like maybe tactical gear and maybe another
yeah,
weapon, that kind of
yep,
shit.
yeah. So,
And like I don't really know what a good name for that would be other than maybe a kit bag. Because like that would be where I'd put a rifle probably in
yeah,
a
well,
kit.
that's my PCCs in that bag. So, yeah, in that bag, I'm not gonna be carrying with me because it's just like, okay, I open the bag, like throw all my kit on, throw my get home bag on, grab my PCC, and now it's time for me to go walk. Like,
So
yay.
I also have a PCC for the end of the world. And my thoughts on that were my goal is not to shoot people. My goal is to kind of go unnoticed or whatever. And a PCC is like a good defensive tool that has a lot of firepower that doesn't weigh that much, that has cheap ammunition that I can get a lot of, and it strikes a lot of boxes. And I was wondering, is that the reason why you have one too, or why did you go with
So,
PCC?
so I went with PCC because at the time, only other firearm that I could really keep in a bag like that would be like an AR pistol, and it wouldn't be completely assembled. It would have to be, and granted, I mean it's ARs, like two pins, but you would have to assemble it. Um, and that firearm was more of my like my AR pistol at the time, well, still kind of is one of more of my home. I don't want to say home defense guns. I mean, it can be used for that, but that's more of like that sits with another set of kit that I have already set up for it. So I was like, I don't want to take that and make that my car gun. And granted, I had a handgun for the car, but I'm like, I don't want to just rely on a handgun.
What people should gather from this is we have a lot of different kits.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Many different kits. For different situations. So like
Yes.
my PCC, and honestly, the whole reason I bought it was because I was at the gun store. I had money in my pocket. I was walking by. I was like, oh, an AK for $600? I don't care if it only shoots 9mm. Okay. Like at the time, I was like, that's a good price,
I
and
I
it looked
I
cool.
like.
And I was like, here we go.
Well, my
So
thought
that's
is too for everything we're talking about. Like this is a system that works together, right? So having a handgun and a PCC in these two separate kits that both use the same ammunition, that then you can have a bunch of ammo with that PCC to use with your pistol or the PCC. It really makes sense.
and that's the thing too. So like at the time, my PCC was just kind of like that was it. Like that was my PCC. My handgun was something completely different. Now though, well, whenever the fuck they send me everything, um, my PCC and my primary car handgun are going to use the same caliber, the same magazines. Like they'll
Yeah.
run everything. So that'll be nice. Um, But
So
you don't have to have your kit set up. Like, do whatever kit works best for you. Like, for the longest time, my car, like, I was going to a bad neighborhood, like long road trips, was a Shockwave and my EDC. Like,
me too.
Shockwave with a bandolier with shotgun shells, and like,
I just
and
had the
granted, it had a light.
Shockwave. I had the Shockwave with the tube loaded, empty chamber, and a full side saddle, and then I had my carry gear that had an extra mag for my pistol. And I think
Yeah,
that's a lot of firepower,
yeah,
really.
yeah. I had two, like, again, this was like road trips. This wasn't like, oh, I'm going to
Yeah.
the store, like I'm just going to work or whatever. But like, if I had to go like any distance, it was two extra mags because that's what I had for my EDC, and it was the Shockwave with it had like a light and everything mounted on it, sling obviously, and then it was a bandolier shotgun shells, and like that's what I rocked with. And then when I sold that, I'd just be like, all right, well, I guess I'm going on a long road trip. Like, let me have my EDC, which usually I just pocket carried, and then I'd have a larger handgun. That was
See,
my
my
with extra ammo.
philosophy forever and ever was like this kit bag kind of thing, with trunk bag, whatever you want to call it. Like that's where I would have like an AR-15 with maybe
Hmm.
6 mags, something like
Yeah,
that. And like that is a totally legit way to go too.
hundred
It's
percent.
more money now and not as utilitarian. And honestly, my thing now is ammo costs and resupply considerations. 9 mil can do everything that I need done right now, so I'm focusing on that. And
The
like, if you wanted
only
to have a rifle, I would not hold it against you, though.
no, no, not at all. And the only reason that I didn't go that route is because again, like my AR pistol that I have was already designed to go with another kit I had, one, and two, the bag that I had designed for this and had kind of dedicated to this could not fit the AR pistol without taking the AR pistol apart. I just didn't want something that I had to, even again, though all you have to do is put together, pop two pins. Like, I didn't want to have to go those other steps. I just wanted to mag in, rack, go. Like, didn't want that extra step. So I was like, well, this will do probably 99% of the work I ever have to, like, I'm probably going to never need this thing or to take it out of the bag. If I do, most people are going to look and be like, oh, okay, well, I'm not going to mess with him anyways. So, like, in the extreme situation that I need to use it, like, it'll probably be fine. So,
Yeah. Part of my thing was the PCC I bought is very compact and concealable, and I want the ability at least to appear unarmed.
and that makes perfect sense. I get that.
And like maybe that's hard to do carrying a shotgun too, but like if you have a breaching shotgun with a folding stock that's like
You
strapped to
can
the
tuck
side of
that
your
away in a
bag,
bag.
yeah,
Yeah,
like no one's gonna notice that right away.
no.
They'll notice like an M4 and chest rig and shit. And like if I have the Flux Raider, if you have that on a single point inside a jacket, ain't nobody seeing that until you want them to, really.
Yeah. And I mean, that goes for a lot of your, I mean, that is one of the perks of having like small LPCs. And granted, you can get like AR pistols and like the whatever, like the, not the honey badger, like whatever those weird ass, can't even think of the names of them, but like you can get rifle caliber things that small. It can be done. It's just a little bit tougher
Or
than
like
like
the
some of your
Sig
PCC.
Rattler is that small.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like
Like
that
that's
thing
what,
is a hell of a thing to pull out at a party.
yeah. Or like I think of like what is it? Like the micro scorpion with like one of those collapsible braces on it. Like that's a really small package, and like that's something you could easily keep in a satchel bag or something and just be like, "Oh, okay, yeah, whatever." And there you go.
Yeah.
Um yeah, I know we kind of side divulged there, so my
Well, I
bad.
think this is probably a good place to kind of wrap up this first chat. We've gone over an hour now. We could kind of keep going through kits and stuff, but I think the next episode of this, hopefully Duke will show up, and then we can talk about kind of what I would determine as the next circle of defense from the end of the world. I guess is kind of the way to look at this. Is like each one of these like levels of this will get you to a certain ability to resist what's going on.
Yeah,
And
and
having a bug out bag and some food and water is a very good first step, and having a couple of guns is a very good first step.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to answer a couple questions on the side here because I saw
Okay.
my name pop up. So for the smoke, since 2018, so a little over 4 years. And then Jumpy says, "What about a crank?" Like, I mean, like a legit crank. If you can rock a legit crank, go for gold. I have a feeling it's probably not going to be accessible, but yeah, like if you could get a crank sized AK, like yeah, that's something you can easily stuff in a bag, especially with like I have on my PCC. I have one of the SB. I don't even know what number it is. The side folding like crank looking braces. Like you throw that on the side of an actual like crank. Like, yeah, you're good to go.
That's cool. A tiny rifle would make a lot of sense. I had a little AR pistol for a while, and like a crink is in that same kind of
I
like.
I
Um,
wanted to for the longest time build one of those and Heavy had one. I think he sold it. Pissed me off because it was one of the few guns he didn't offer to have me buy first. I think it was like right after I lost my job though, so that might have been why. But it was one of those like small like 7-inch barreled AR pistols, which I know people are gonna be like 7-inch barrel on AR pistol, keyhole, like I don't care. It's cool. It reminds me of the movie Heat. Like that's all I wanted it for.
but the one
Like
in the movie Heat was 11.5 inches, and it actually does stuff.
yeah, well, fucking whatever. But like it was cool because it was tiny, and I was like, oh, this is badass. Like this
Yeah.
would be a cool little like pack like AR, and I would feel sophisticated using it. But even then, like if you're rocking that, because again, like whatever you're rocking, like you're probably not using this for making a long range. Like this is like a couple cars
PDW.
away. Like yeah, PDW. Like oh, like the end of 3 doors down is bad guy trying to rob me or
I
like take my shit. Like
I'm amazed at how many people I talk to are like rifle, 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 and I'm like, well, maybe if you had the right rifle for this, it would make sense. But in my mind, for most of the situations that I can even fucking fathom, a PDW of some sort makes way more sense than having a full size rifle. And if you're going to carry a full size rifle, I would carry something like an SPR AR-15 set up with a long optic or a 308 because like if you're going through all the trouble to carry a rifle, you're trying to keep people further away from you. And like I would not plan to get into close range fights if I was carrying a rifle. Like you
no,
can
I mean
carry
it's not
rifles that
ideal.
like do more shit or whatever, but like think about the weight you're carrying and like how much ammo you're gonna have to carry, and like all of a sudden the 308 starts making more sense.
And again, like I mean, it depends on your vehicle. So like for me, I have a small, sports car. I have to like my space is limited on already with a bug out bag. Or I'm sorry, a get home bag. I always keep fuel in my car. I usually have other shit in there like groceries or some random ass shit, car cleaning stuff. So like I need a small bag that's something small. If you have like a Ford F-250 or something where you have like the bench seats in the back that lift up and you have
Yeah.
the storage, like yeah, you can throw in a bigger kit. You can throw in a bigger rifle. You can throw in more shit because you have space for it. So it makes sense.
I really like that shit being really trim. Like I think it's just better overall, and storage is always an issue. But like I was saying, like if you're gonna carry a rifle, maybe that's an extreme to go to an SPR or a 308 or something. Because like you could carry like a red dotted M4, and it will give you longer range capabilities. But
Yeah.
my thought is kind of like, what is it that we're trying to do here? Because like
I mean,
bug
again,
out or
like
get home, either way, like it's to get from A to B unseen. And like to me, that just screams PDW, not rifle.
yeah, I guess it depends on again like what you're doing with that in the situation. So like
Yeah.
if it's just trying to get home, like I'm with you. Like I want to be as minimalistic as possible. Now granted my PCC doesn't really allow me to do that. Like people are going to see I got one, but I can still move around pretty quickly with it whatever. I'm not going to be going long range engagements with it. But like if, it's one of those situations where I'm like, let's say I'm here and my girlfriend who lives 30 miles away is up the road, and all of a sudden I look out the window and I see paratroopers coming from the fucking sky. I'm like, oh shit, I got to get up to her or something like that.
Yeah.
First off, I'm probably not going to rely on my get home card gun, I'm probably gonna actually grab my full kit. But like, let's say I'm at the grocery store, right, or something.
Yeah.
Again, like it depends on the situation. Like in those cases, I could be like, oh yeah, I'm glad I got my G3 rocked and locked. Like I get
Yeah.
it. So it depends on
Well, and
your.
that's my thing is like again, if we're coming at this from we don't have much money and we're just starting out,
Hmm,
like if you're
yeah,
going to buy a rifle, something like a G3 with a red dot sight might be the thing to get because like you could shoot a pretty long way with that, and it has a lot of fucking just knockdown power. Like
I I think we should save the rifle chat for because we can probably do a whole
we
episode
should
on
like
budget-minded
honestly,
like
it's so tempting
rifle
just to
and
do another. It's so
yeah,
tempting just to keep going on the rifle.
yeah. So I say that's
I
that's
say
next
I'm with
chat
you.
'cause
Let's
we
just
should.
end it here.
Yeah, yeah. I think we
Yeah.
had a good
Any
conversation. I
other
mean, I
thoughts on
think.
bug out, Brian?
What's up?
Sorry. Go ahead. I just
I was just
I interrupted.
I was just saying, like, I think we had a good conversation. I hope we answered most people's. It's tough without like super chats and stuff being able to see it. Like, I tried to catch as many questions as possible. So, um,
I'm not really so much worried about answering people's questions and that kind of thing as I am like having a good conversation and making like a thing that will endure, like a video for people to watch.
yeah,
That's kind of the point of this. So I've been kind of ignoring the chat.
I
Um,
know, but as people come in, I want to make
and
them
like if
feel
people have
welcome and
something to
stuff.
say, like
Yeah,
I don't
like I'm
know,
not
we'll
answering
we'll find
everything.
the
Like
right
I'm,
people.
yeah, like that's why I was trying to answer like questions that were actually pertaining to the chat, instead of just like,
Yeah,
do you like applesauce? It's like, okay, well, I guess like,
yeah.
um, but yeah, so yeah, I think rifle chat, maybe next chat. I'm sure we can divulge into more stuff from that, but I think that's a good because a rifle is a big decision for a lot of people, especially like getting into
It
prepping.
is,
I
and
think we
like
can have
Duke
a
should
good.
be there for that chat.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially because he's Mr. If you can only have one gun, it has to be a rifle.
Yeah. Well, he's a Marine. That's exactly
Well,
what I was
exactly.
raised to
Yeah.
believe. Like
And I get it. I
my
understand where
grandfather,
he's coming from.
for those
I,
who don't
I
know, my grandfather was a captain in the Marine Corps, and he basically raised me. And like, I was never in the Marine Corps, but I get where Duke's coming from because I was raised by it.
I
And like,
I I get him too, because Duke's thinking of the mindset of like, oh, if you're going to war and can only have one gun, in which case I agree, like a rifle makes sense.
it's a
But we weren't
rifle.
asking that question like we were asking. So,
You're gonna have a
but yeah,
tiny bag hit in a car or in a closet for the end of the world. What gun you gonna put in it? That's not a rifle, in my opinion. Maybe a Keltec
yeah,
Sub 2000. That would be a cool kit gun in some ways. Back when they were cheap, anyway. I wouldn't spend what they cost now. Back when those were
especially.
225, though, that was a hell of a bug out kit gun.
Oh yeah, yeah. And yes, applesauce is delicious, and pineapple sauce is good. Peach is fine. Strawberries seems fake. I've never had plum because I'm not in a retirement home. But yeah, I don't know about you,
We'll have
but
to
great to
figure out
call it,
how
and
to
I gotta get to.
integrate more comments or something next time. Like we'll have a question section or something at the end of the show, maybe.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. Do a question, like take like 10 minutes and just like hit people's questions coming in or something like that. I like that.
Yeah. Well, thanks for showing up. And this has been the first Red Dawn chat, and Duke didn't even show up for it. I thought about calling this the Ray Ray's Angry Duke chat, but like that sounds too much like shit now. So
Yeah, you're having like a really like angry Duke that you're doing on the like one of those painful ones that you're just
because
screaming the entire time.
Duke's Mr.
Yeah.
Jesus. So
Uh,
we'll end it
poor
on
Duke.
Mr. Poop.
All
Night,
right, guys.
guys.
Talk to you later.